From generating grammatically suspect resumes and cover letters to expanding the frame on famous works of art, AI technology is all the rage. It can, almost instantly, generate Star Wars fan films or weird, uncanny art. Or art. It's coming for all of our jobs. It may even be capable, at least according to one of the more alarmist tech reporters, of ruining happy marriages. I know that reference is about a year old at this point, but seriously, you credulous rube. Lately, AI has seemed especially eerie for a few different reasons when it comes to making music.
Hello world, my name is Anna Indiana, and I'm so excited to share my music with you. Here's my first song, Betrayed by This Town. Sitting at my favorite cafe, sipping my tea, it's Saturday.
Meet Anna Indiana, an AI singer-songwriter introduced to the world on November 24th, 2023. By the time you see this, Anna will either be selling at the Budokan or totally relegated to the dustbin of history. It's probably too early to say, but if I was a betting man, I would take all of the money that I have in the world and bet it on dustbin. Why? Because Anna Indiana sucks. She looks weird. She's stupid. And her big debut song, Betrayed by This Town, is brutal. She has even inspired, if that is the right word, parody knockoff cover artists like Connie Connecticut, an AI-generated artist who covers Anna Indiana songs.
Hello world, my name is
Connie Connecticut.
I'm so excited to share my music with you.
Frankly, Connie's take on Betrayed strikes me as the definitive version, sort of like when Jeff Buckley covered Hallelujah. Anna Indiana is just the latest in a wave of AI-generated artists who have earned little more than the anger and ire, or maybe just total indifference, which is arguably worse, of the general public. There was FN Meka, the robot rapper who racked up like 500 million Spotify plays and 10 million TikTok followers on the basis of videos of him doing stuff like eating corn on the cob off of a Supreme branded power drill. FN Meka was signed and then swiftly dropped by Capitol Records following criticism that the character was a broad, offensive racial stereotype. One critic even called him an abomination. Despite being wildly different, FN Meka and Anna Indiana and Connie Connecticut have something in common. They don't really pass. Granted, FN Meka was an obviously digital creation intended to seem digital or virtual. His creators alternatively referred to him as the world's first AI or AR, augmented reality rapper, without saying what they actually meant, and Anna Indiana just feels like an extremely rough draft of a Taylor Swift-style singer-songwriter whose music obviously pales in comparison. There's something weirdly encouraging about these failures. Us music snobs like to go on and on about how all popular music is basically cooked up in a lab by teams of singer-songwriters and lyricists employing a cruel, calculating, almost technological approach to the craft. But as you offload that work to actual unfeeling technology, the results tend to be pretty bad. But what about music that can pass? What about Frostbite Orckings? This is Frostbite Orckings, or these are the Frostbite Orckings. It's confusing because Frostbite Orckings don't really exist. Like, obviously a group of ogres and goblins playing gnarly death metal don't literally exist, but the band itself only figuratively exists as more of an idea than a band. Their music is generated via AI by a programmer and metalhead in Germany.
So, my name is Stefan. I'm a German singer, composer, and computer guy. In the music sector, I'm mainly known for being one of the singers of the metal a cappella band Vancanto. I'm a software architect, software developer. That's mainly where I earned my money with while touring with Vancanto, which was a band, or is a band, that is able to tour worldwide, but it's not a band that makes enough money to make a living for like 8 persons involved. So I always enjoyed that double role of being a freelancer in the computer science space and then making music from the heart, so to say. With the Metalverse and all the virtual bands around it, I finally managed to bring those two worlds together.
Tell me about the genesis of Frostbite Orckings, which is obviously why we're talking today.
When we came together, I said friends and family, so there are other Vancanto members involved in the venture, and also, for example, my brother, who's a computer linguist. And we thought, let's write some software that helps people composing or arranging or producing to make something like a showcase and to really prove if our concepts work, let's found a virtual band and put all the effort we put into the algorithms and systems also into that band and see on what level we can actually produce a metal album. Frostbite Orckings are somehow our test case if the things that we are working on actually turn into real music or not.
When we're talking, it's like, apps like Suno being sued by Universal, but the software that you've designed, the sort of what you just described, the kind of back end that powers this band is really interesting. And this is not you typing in, like epic Amon Amarth style metal. Describe how the coding for this band, if that's the sort of right terminology, how this music really comes together, because it's fucking fascinating.
Yeah, sure. And I'd love to, because actually the difference between systems like Suno that just scan the whole internet and then make something out of it without thoughts or anything. Our approach is completely different. Mainly what we did is we had real musicians that were able to interact while playing a certain style, in this case melodic death metal. So it was a drummer and a guitar player that played 40 hours of music in the rehearsal room together. And these two people, mainly Bastian and me, Bastian the Bancanto drummer and me as a guitar player, we've been playing music together since we've been like 15 years old or something, so 30 years from now. And all that magic of two people that have a history together and how they play together and how I know when he will start a fill and I will join him with my riffing, all this went into the training material. So Frostbite Orckings is exactly trained by two people that knew they want to create a melodic death metal band. It's not like, let's learn everything from ABBA to ZZ Top and then prompt, give us some epic northern melodic death metal. It's really tailor-made for this case. When we started, we were really like the first pioneers in training a music system as a whole system. Everything about Suno and all the other competitors really came after we released the album, basically. So we were somehow overtaken or overwhelmed by the development around us. And since then, we really have to explain that we created the training material ourselves. I think this is the main difference. We did not rip off any recorded audio from other people that wouldn't know. It's just the material that we created, and the system takes the small parts of it, like rhythm patterns or harmony evolutions or melody creation, and puts them together to a new song.
But I wonder if you can just speak to that as someone who is, you've been in bands, you've been playing music for 30 years, and you've sort of found this, interesting kind of creative outlet. But what do you think of that tension that seems to exist in our current moment between creatives, quote unquote, and then, the AI industry? Again, I'm putting this all in quotes.
I mean, I can totally feel that tension, and I feel it too, being a composer myself. And I mean, mainly, I would never ask an AI system to compose a new Van Canto song for me, because then the actual meaning behind writing a song would be gone for me. Writing a song is always about giving you peace of mind in some way. So I don't know, you met some really shitty guys and you need to write a song about it because otherwise you would only be able to hit them, or I don't know, or you're deeply in love and this love is not answered, so you have to write a song about it. I mean, all this process of feeling something and then putting that into a piece of music to give you some relief is not reached if you just take a prompt and tell a computer system, write a love song that touches my heart. It will never work, because from a composer's point of view, it didn't went through your mind.
This idea is, in some ways, nothing new. There have always been fake bands that serve as the faces of real musicians. Just think of Gorillaz and David Albarn, or further back, the Archies, the fake band from the OG Riverdale who had a massive hit in 1969 with Sugar Sugar, a song actually performed by Canada's own Andy Kim. Or the Monkees. Sure, they're great. We all love the Monkees now. We all got the memo. We all read Infinite Tuesday. But they were basically cooked up by a group of elder professional singer-songwriters in an attempt to stay relevant during the height of the British invasion. And yet this not real band has sold more than 75 million records worldwide and has diehard fans. Same deal with Frostbite Orckings.
Younger people that perhaps are more inspired from a gaming aesthetics or from knowing playlists where they hear one song that they like and then they want to hear a song that sounds comparable, even if it's from a completely different band. And the Frostbite Orckings directly go into that feeling, because they create a certain atmosphere. And that's what I like about the younger generation today, because they are more thinking in playlists or in, if you like that, perhaps you should also hear that, or listening to a radio on Spotify, that they are more into, I like that style and I don't care which band it is or how they look alike or how they are. And the Frostbite Orckings are really something special. So if you like it and then you take a look, what is that actually? Then you see, oh, it's a virtual band. And then perhaps you'll dive deeper and say, why is this written by a computer system? And then things start. But for us, it's important that the music is the entry point into it.
And they engage that fan base with karaoke videos and contests, challenging listeners to growl better than an orc.
Attention, all humans. Do you believe you have superior growling or singing abilities compared to an orc?
Fans love it. They don't seem to care that it's not real. It's not like Anna Indiana, who is trying to compete with flesh and blood singer-songwriters and falling deeply into the vast uncanny valley in the process. The Orckings thing is more like the idea of kayfabe in wrestling. Everyone involved in Frostbite Orckings, from the programmers down to the fans, behave as if these theatrics are real, which might make them real. Let's hold that thought. One thing that distinguishes this kind of AI-generated music is that all the original inputs are analog. Musicians actually played the riffs, the snare hits, and made all the growls, then inputted them into a computer which arranged them in turn. So there still is a significant human element, a ghost or a goblin in the machine. But some AI-curious metalheads are trying to push past even this, and the results are interesting.
People know me as Nik Nocturnal. I guess the easiest way to describe what I do is I do fun metal things on the internet. It's been interesting because metal in itself already is nowadays very production focused and computer oriented. Like a lot of the new records don't even have real instruments and bass. It's all program stuff, which is, just parallel right there to just kind of computers being involved in every aspect, even with live sets, obviously, like a computer or a laptop being so important to getting production sounds and all of that, and plugins and everything regarding that. I've always been interested in that facet because I just also love digital. I love the ease of using digital tools and using digital tools as a creative. And when you take it, down to a more simpler stance of like songwriting and melody composition and all that, things aren't very complex. Sometimes when it comes to music, it can be very complex, but majority of modern metal music and big songs, even in the metal sphere, is somewhat formulaic. So it's not that far off thinking that a machine can just take a lot of patterns and information and organize it in ways and spew out, outputs, or with you giving it inputs and eventually it giving an output that like actually makes sense. It doesn't seem that far off.
What's your impression of Databots?
It's funny. It's just funny to hear it because it sounds so kind of terrible and chaotic, but then there's moments when you listen and you're like, oh wow, that actually sounds like something like we got lucky here for a second.
Databots is a group that has used neural networking to generate black metal and also some math rock, but mostly black metal under the name Codidity of Timeness. It sounds like this. And it's made by feeding existing black metal songs into software and then having that program create new music using these existing elements.
I'm CJ Carr, Zach Zukowski. We're Databots. We're an AI death metal band. We've been together for 10 years. We met at Berklee College of Music as interns. We came from the world of metal and punk and noise, electronic, experimental music. Just kind of got tired of being in touring bands, tired of all those humans in those bands. That pushed us to making music with computers, then to algorithms using Max MSP, making breakcore and electronic music and DAWs, then getting tired of the DAW and realizing to really make the weirdest music possible, we were going to have to do it, not just with the algorithms, but with machine learning. And that's sent us on our own self-directed path of learning how to train neural nets to generate music. And we didn't go to grad school or anything to learn that. We just learned it on our own for the mere purpose of trying to make crazy music.
I assumed you were tech guys as opposed to music guys, but you are Berklee School of Music graduates, not like MIT graduates.
No, we didn't go to MIT. We're also quite versed in coding. Like, I've been coding on my own since I was 13. I started making like really shitty Flash games on Newgrounds. So we have both of those skills.
We were working together in Austin at a startup where we were trying to make a cool mobile app that let people make music very quickly, sampling other people. We were working with machine learning methods to try to generate patterns, and eventually started trying to generate raw audio during this time period. After experimenting for a whole summer with RNNs, GRUs, LSTMs from sample RNN, we realized that we could push this thing that was designed for speech synthesis a little bit farther and make it a little bit better at learning structures of things over longer periods of time, and to get it a little bit better at complex spectra like full mixes instead of somebody's voice. We were just using the albums that we were listening to a lot, so we had a whole group of experimental artists that we found inspiring to help us code, just where we wanted to push a lot of music we were hearing. And we were really interested in kind of predictability and anticipation in music as a group of people. We were just really fascinated by how bands like Dillinger Escape Plan or Converge, Kralis can set up these patterns of, emotion, feeling that lead you to think something's going to happen, and it just pulls it away in this subtle way that just keeps your brain wanting to hear more and more. And it seemed like generative neural nets were this way to kind of get this never-ending churn of music that we could then hear our favorite albums with tons of variations, never-ending. After training a bunch of different models on these types of artists, we found out that certain genres worked much better. At first, our intuition was that electronic music would be great because, computers should be able to do music from other computers. But it turned out that organic and distorted, spacey production was actually better. And when the structure of music was really kind of free and loose, like in, more atmospheric styles of metal or proggy styles of metal, and then in jazz and funk, we were finding really great results. And we didn't think anyone would ever listen to this. I was just listening to it one day, realized I could actually probably form at least like a 10 to 15 minute album of things that I think people might consider music. And we just put it out for fun. Not sure if anyone would ever check it out. And it got some attention, which was kind of the first tip off that we had that we were onto something there.
Unlike something like the Frostbite Orckings, there aren't even personalities here. There aren't even fake fictional personalities. The music is cold and inhuman, which works because, well, that's sort of what black metal has always aspired to sound like. Before it served as the foundation for several popular documentaries in the late 2000s, black metal was a genre mostly developed in the frostier quarters of Northern Europe, conceived almost as an assault on the idea of music. Early progenitors like Venom practiced a screeching, wailing, arguably shittier take on the heavy metal of the time, punctuated by some legendary stage banter.
Fuck you, man! We gotta get out here and do some gigs! You're wild, man! Wild!
The so-called second wave of bands, mostly based in Norway, upped the ante even further. This music was proudly lo-fi, distorted, and frankly, a little bit scary. Artists adopted pseudonyms, adorned corpse paint, and were generally pretty antisocial and occasionally murderous. The music was extreme and alienating and almost philosophically opposed to things like harmony or tunefulness or sounding nice.
What's interesting about doing kind of atmospheric black metal is that as a genre, it feels set up to be kind of anti-human. And so using these tools that are inherently inhuman to create music that exists kind of against humanity feels really logical. Do you feel like black metal inherently has like anti-human intentions?
Yes. It's only logical for a project like ours to emerge out of that. And I think like Zach said, we got really lucky that these algorithms, like the early ones, work extremely well for that kind of style of music and not for like reggae and or electronic music.
Yeah, but instead the sort of music that's about sort of hating the world and everyone in it is kind of the right thing to have a computer help you make.
I kind of fantasize, after an apocalypse, like long after humans are gone, like the live stream is still just generating this music forever on an empty planet. Maybe aliens like fly down a million years from now and like all they hear is this one black metal generator from Databots, and they're like, what happened here?
There is a rawness and coldness to the music that sounds not only inhuman, but almost ideologically opposed to the idea of humanity. So maybe it's no surprise that a computer or neural network doing black metal doesn't actually sound half bad. I mean, at least by the standards of black metal, which is to say it sounds, by most definitions, pretty bad, which means it's good. This sort of AI music arguably passes. That is to say, it meets the standards of its genre more than something like Anna Indiana or FN Mecca. But a big part of that has to do with what the fans of this music value and appreciate. Like if you're a die-hard black metal fan, things like seeming warm or having a heart or being passably human just aren't valuable. Here, auto-generated AI isn't being used as some technological hack or cheat code to create a top 40 banger. It's actually working to serve the spirit of the music. A gnarly, evil, sometimes toxic spirit, but nevertheless. And in this way, it poses some bigger, fuzzier questions about art and AI and how they will intersect. Maybe, as computers and AI get increasingly slick, our values of what constitutes music or art will have to catch up. Maybe that human quality, so often prized aesthetically as an expression of our shared humanity, it just won't matter. It never really did for bands like Venom or Mayhem or Darkthrone. Many of those guys hated that human quality. For decades, the whole diverse genre of electronic music has basically proven that people can respond to songs that don't foreground this element, at least not in the literal ways of having an actual person strum a guitar or bang on a drum set. Maybe we need to rethink what exactly we value in music and why we value it. Maybe the only human element that matters is how we react to music. Does it matter if a robot made it if I can still dance or bang my head to it?